You are Locked On Falcons POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Welcome back, guys, to another Locked On Falcons postcast here on the Locked On Sports Atlanta podcast feed on YouTube. Of course, I'm your host, Aaron Freeman of Locked On Falcons, joined by Jarvis Davis of the ATL Day Ones podcast, one of many shows on the Locked On Sports Atlanta podcast feed. And we are recapping an illustrious win for the Atlanta Falcons over the Arizona Cardinals, getting their 20-19 victory on a last-second chip shot from Younghoe Koo with the walk-off field goal to win it all. But Jarvis, we talked all week long about Desmond Ridder getting his first win and needing to see that from Ridder now that he's facing a soft Cardinals team at home, two things that were not necessarily going in his favor the last 2 weeks on the road against the Saints and Ravens. And we saw a pretty solid game from Desmond Ridder. I don't think anybody's going to sit here and say the Falcons won this game because of Desmond Ridder, but he was efficient. He made a big-time throw, threading the needle on that 3rd and 7 to sort of set up that game-winning field goal for Younghoe Koo, and it was an all-in-all solid performance from Desmond Ridder. And a couple of times, you know, he made some big throws. There was a big throw to Demir Bird that could have been a big play, but unfortunately Bird was not able to hang on to the ball, maybe due to some questionable contact from the defense. But yeah, overall it was a solid day for Desmond Ridder. But give your thoughts on Ridder's performance and what you come away from this game with.
The one thing that I thought that really stood out to me was where he was spreading the ball around, right? You know, he had not only his boy, Drake London had 8 targets, but Cordarrelle Patterson had 8 targets as well. So, and you saw Michael Pruitt come up with some big catches on 3rd down, and he connected with him, and it was just really good to see him spread the ball around. Not only be able to get the guy that you drafted in the first round to be your number 1 wide receiver, but get spread around to the ancillary guys, so defense won't be able to focus in so much on guys like Drake London. So I think that was one thing that I really thought that you starting this, like we talked about the progression, right? From game 1 to game 2, now from game 2 to game 3, now you're starting to see like the progression, like they're spreading the ball around, making those big throws like you mentioned on those money downs, because that's what matters, right? Those are the things that really, really matter. And I think that, it's unfortunate that, he wasn't able to get his first touchdown, that was taken away from Cordarrelle Patterson. That was a little shaky call. Seems like we talked about a lot of shaky calls in this game today. The PI on D Alford and him, the fact that he's turning around and finding the ball and trying to break on it, that's a penalty nowadays. I don't quite understand that, but I think that, for him to be able to come in today, first home game in front of the home crowd, and come out, just be efficient, right? Like, because that's all you ask. And on that pass to Demir Bird, guess what that would have been if the other dude was at quarterback? It would have been out of bounds. He wouldn't have had a chance to catch the ball. We wouldn't even be talking about PI or potential contact or anything like that. So I like the fact that he was able to spread it around, and I like the fact that he gave his wide receivers a chance to catch the football.
Yeah. We saw the team get off to a much better start this week than we've seen the last couple of weeks, with a very long opening touchdown drive to close out the first quarter, begin the second quarter. Then things kind of went quiet for the offense in the third quarter, but then you saw a really solid performance from Ridder in the fourth quarter to sort of close things out. But Jarvis, as we continue today's Locked On Falcons postcast here, I want to talk a little bit about the run game. Like, that was really sort of the success for the Falcons offense. We just needed Ridder to sort of hit some of these 3rd down throws, but it was really on Tyler Allgeier, Cordarrelle Patterson making a number of good runs. Overall, the run game finishes with 132 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns in this game. Possibly could have had a third if the Falcons hadn't settled for a field goal there at the end, but no complaints there. Allgeier with 20 carries, 83 yards. Patterson with 9 carries for 42 yards. What were your thoughts on the run game today?
It was structured just how I wanted it to be, right? Not sitting there acting like Arthur Smith sits there and watch our postcast, which I'm pretty sure he does.
He does.
He's probably one of the best doggone podcasts you're going to ever find right here. And we appreciate y'all working with us right here on Locked On Falcons postcast. So I think that, like understanding what you have, understanding what needs to be, how those carries need to be split up. You say 20 carries, yeah, between 9 and 10 carries for a guy who's in his early 30s. That works for me. The guy that you just drafted out of the fifth round and you found some really good value, give him 20 carries. I'm cool with that. Run them till you can't run them no more, coach. Those are some of the things that I feel like in order for this offense to continue to progress and get wins and have a strong game plan to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. I think that it was structured exactly how it was where it needed to be, and I think that you saw that offensive line opening up some holes. There were some faults there. 67. He's still working through it. He's a work in progress, I guess. He's gonna be the center of the future, I guess. But but overall, though, I think as a group, I think the offensive line did what it was supposed to do. We'd only went to the ground one time. So hey, I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Cardinals definitely were moving J.J. Watt around to try to get him on that because he usually lines up on the left side of D-line, which means he goes against the right side of the O-line. But they're like, hey, Chris Lindstrom's over there. Like, I don't know. Who's this Matt Hennessy guy? Who's this guy? Let's put him on the other side. And so, Watt was very disruptive in this game. There was some pressure, some collapsing pockets given up in this game. But you did see some of those big holes, those trademark holes. I call them the Autobahn over there, like in Germany, because they just got just wide lanes, and you can just speed through those lanes. There was a couple of those, especially on that one that was capped off by the Allgeier touchdown at the beginning of the second quarter there, where they had some wide open lanes, and we didn't have to wait, Jarvis, 7 plays for Tyler Allgeier to get involved. They got him involved in the third play of that opening drive. So we're like, this is why we can sit here and say we think Arthur Smith listens to the podcast, because we were talking about that all along.
I mean, why wouldn't he? Like the nuggets that we drop, the jewels that you be throwing out here, man. Like with the Bijan Robinson, all the motivational speeches you give, man, for the Falcons players, like Anthony Rush, you got him cut. You got Tyler Allgeier up here asking for the rock 20 times a game. Like, come on, man. Like, dude, like. You know what I'm saying? You all on the Troy Anderson fan club, man. Shoot, man, it's all good. It's all good, man.
Jarvis, speaking of Troy Anderson, let's talk a little bit about the defense, right?
Yeah.
Not the best day for the defense, given that David Blau was kind of cooking a little bit. And you're like, this guy was a 4th-string quarterback, 2 weeks off of the practice squad, only been in town, and he's moving some chains against them. But I'm just curious, what was your overall thoughts on the defense performance today?
To be honest with you, man, like from a secondary standpoint, the whole Darren Hall piece, him not being able to supplant Cornell Armstrong for snaps, that's not good. That's not a good sign. This is a guy that was basically picked up off the street early on in the year because of injury, and like he's still in the starting lineup. He's still playing a lot. So, that concerns me. I think that you got a guy. I like what I saw in AJ Terrell, man. Like the dude is back. I think he's back. Like he had the pick, but they end up throwing the flag and negated that. So that was truly unfortunate. So and Richard Grant, man, I call him the little stock market, man. That's my little nickname for him, little stock market. This dude's just so volatile at times. Like he'll make a play, on special teams, come block a punt, go pick up the ball, and then sometimes come up and make a really solid tackle. Then next thing you know, he getting beat by Trey McBride, like a guy who was drafted in the second round. Everybody thought that Steve Keim overdrafted him, and he has been not productive, and he was out there looking like he was worth that second round pick. So all of those things, like those are my concerns. I'm like, because this team is traditionally haven't been able to guard tight ends for some reason. Like they just struggled. Juwan Johnson against the Saints. Juwan Johnson coming straight off of IR, doggone. He just got out of crutches. He catch 2 tugs against the Falcons. I'm like, dude, what is going on here? Like, what are we doing here? So I think that's something that I feel like they're gonna have to get corrected. And as far as up front goes, I like what I saw. I thought Dalton made a couple plays here and there. Ali Ogundeji got home. He got a sack. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So, I think there's some things that still need to be worked on with this team, man. And just for us, that linebacker core, I saw the tweet when you tweeted out, these linebackers, man, it's sometimes like you just from a situational standpoint, they just don't understand. Like it's 3rd and 2, man. Why are you standing flat-footed when the ball is snapped? It's like, what are you doing? Like, sell out. I'd rather you sell out and get beat versus stand there and say, "Oh, it's a run play. There we go. Oh, let me go try to make the tackle now." I'm like, no, linebacker's supposed to shoot that gun and hit that gap, and man, make a decision and go with it and stick with it. So yeah, I think overall, that's pretty much what we've been seeing all year, but somehow they were able to figure out to hold the team under 20 points.
Yeah, definitely. And what we didn't quite get from the defense, Falcons did get from special teams. You mentioned the punt block there, that they turned that into points. Bradley Pinion had a great punt, at one point in the game to sort of pin Arizona at their 1-yard line. And then obviously Younghoe Koo kicking sort of the game winner there. And thankfully Matt Prater was not money in this game. Missing, this man made a 57-yard field goal in this game like it was nothing, and then missed like what was it, like a 45 or something like that, a 43-yarder or something. So
wild left, man.
We'll take it. So
yeah.
That's going to do it for us, guys. A win is a win. I know probably a bunch of people in the comments are right now be like, "Oh, this team is ruining their draft stock," and it's like, yep, they are. That's what they're going to do. That's what they get paid to do. They get paid to win football games. Imagine that.
Yeah, man. So those are some of the things that hey, man, it's okay to get a win. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. Arizona, they're sucking right now. They're probably going to fire the coach, and maybe their general manager is going to, quote unquote, step down at the end of the year. You want to be in that situation? Absolutely not. Get this win, and get Ridder, get a home win on this belt, and hopefully he can get a touchdown pass before the season's over against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week, right here at Mercedes Benz Stadium.
Absolutely. So we will not get the chance to knock the Bucs out of the playoffs next week because they just pulled off the win against Carolina, but still need that Tom Brady loss. And if Desmond Ridder can get it, build a statue for him. That's what I say.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all about building statues for Desmond Ridder. Let's go. DR4, baby. See y'all next week.
See you next week, guys.